What up, perps? Kid Copious back in effect. Purple State Party, you know what we're doing here? We're repping America, the center, common sense, unity, and love, everyone. All my brothers and sisters out there. Thank you so much for watching, man. Anything you can do to help, like, subscribe, multiply, all that. This one is for all you. All right, so I'm a little bit tired today. I was up a little bit late. Watching, of course, the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. You know, I think it was a beautiful thing. Thank you, Jake, for putting that on. I know he doesn't get all the credit, but, you know, just wanted to say that. You know, I got to watch boxing for the first time with my daughter and her fiance. Boxing was something that I used to watch with my own father, you know, back in the day. You know, guys like Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, Angel Man Freddie, Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward, you know, so those were some of my favorite fighters. You know, I think Netflix had a few problems with their stream, but I think their biggest problem was that the announcers were just hype machines, and they didn't realize that they were dealing with a lot of first-time, you know, boxing fans, boxing viewers, and they didn't really explain what was going on. And some of the two cards right before the main event, you know, I think it would have been helpful if somebody had explained that you don't usually win championships by judges' decisions. That's not usually the way it works. But anyhow, let's move on with a little more about it. Babylon B summed it up. Unity. Democrats, Republicans find common ground in rooting for Jake Paul to get punched in the face. Yeah, you know, I honestly think that once Jake actually tasted Tyson's power, he kind of played a safe game. I'm not saying that the judges were wrong. They were right. Jake won that fight. But I think what was proven, too, was that Jake would never have been able to beat a 27-year-old Mike Tyson. Just wouldn't have happened, you know. Well, there were a couple really cool things that happened. One was Tori Kelly's national anthem. Really liked it. She showed restraint. She didn't try to zhuzh it up too much, you know, and there was a sense of patriotism. I think that sense of patriotism is returning to America. I mean, I don't know, after the last election when, you know, you saw large portions of California, a lot of blue states starting to vote a little more Republican, you know, what Trump won all the battleground states. You know, maybe America can make a comeback. Maybe we can get back to the days of teaching how America's great, not how America's bad. Because when you look at how America's bad, you got to go into the past. And that's not the present. But I digress. For me, my favorite part was Mike Tyson was being interviewed by his son. And at the end of the interview, he kisses him on the cheek and says, "Love you, son." And then he turns around to this. Mike Tyson's bare ass on Netflix. That was, you know, it was memorable, you know. And, you know, I'm there with my wife, my daughter, my future son-in-law. And, you know, we got to share that moment. And, you know, it reminded me of what's really important. And, you know, that's family. You know, they were interviewing Evander Holyfield. And, you know, I was telling my daughter about how I remember the fight where Mike Tyson actually bit off a chunk of Evander Holyfield's ear, and how a lot of people complained about it. And my point of view on that was, you know, we just got to witness history. You know, we got to watch a man bite another man's ear off. And my daughter said, well, between Mike Tyson's butt and the ear biting, you know, which one was the best? And I said, well, the butt, because I shared that with you. And that's what we got to remember, man. Family is so important. Family is not just, you know, myself, I'm adopted. So I see family different. I don't see family as something that you're just simply born into. It's something that can be manufactured. And, you know, I hope everybody out there has family. You know, the holidays are coming up, you know, and nothing sadder to me than the isolated, lonely people out there, you know. My daughter knows a few of them, and they're really trapped in a really vicious cycle. There's not much they can do. They have no support. Their friends were all online and in different corners of the world, and that breaks my heart. But anyhow, let's get into something a little happier there. Trump with his Elon Vivek flamethrower, the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. I think, in Trump's first term, I think he was trying to get reelected, like so many politicians. They want to get reelected. And, maybe they don't get to do exactly what they want to do because they know they have to do enough to get votes and blah, 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 blah. But Trump, he's not going to run again, can't run again. And I think he's going to burn the whole thing down. And I think that's a good thing. And like Elon put in this post right here, all actions of the DOGE will be posted online for maximum transparency. Anytime the public thinks we are cutting something important or not cutting something wasteful, just let us know. We will also have a leaderboard for most insanely dumb spending of your tax dollars. This will be both extremely tragic and extremely entertaining. I remember way back in the day, we found out that the government had purchased hammers for like $900 each. More recently, there was a report that the Navy had paid something like $1,600 for a coffee mug. And, I think it's time we realize in this country, in this state, that money doesn't grow on trees. And that we need to cut some of this wasteful spending. Some of the spending that's not really going anywhere. I mean, here in California, we have spent a considerable amount of money trying to fix the homeless situation. But at the same time, we're giving money to agencies, to operations, to give out free crack pipes and clean shooting, needles and Narcan and all that kind of crap. And it's not doing anything because it's just enabling. We have the bullet train here in California. I don't really I don't understand what this bullet train will ever do for anybody. But yet we're willing to spend billions of dollars on it. And we just can't do that anymore. I think all of us, just average American citizens, realize that we can't always upsize our McDonald's. We can't eat out as much. We can't do this. We can't do that. Here in California, they are literally trying to drive up the price of gas so that we can't drive. We have to make those choices. And I think it's pretty effed up that we have to budget cut, but the government just keeps wasting it on pet projects. And I get it. My daughter brought up a fair point that, there are things out there that seem to be a waste of money. For example, studying how lizards lose their tails, right? The mechanics of that. Well, that could lead to something because lizards grow back their tails. Maybe there's something in that for humans to use. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I've heard the same thing about octopus and jellyfish. So, I hope we don't just slash the budget of important research. But then again, if you've got research out there that's, studying the mating habits of penguins, I don't know if that's where we need to be spending our money. I certainly don't think we should be spending our money here in California on bullet trains. Anne Hathaway, I think, subconsciously, I think I just put this up because she looks really beautiful there. There's something about a beautiful woman who's not all decked to the nines, Fed up. We need freedom and unity. I don't know who she. I'm assuming that she wore this in support of Kamala. I don't know. It's the sentiment. We as Americans should be fed up with the way the government runs. Here in California, I see it firsthand where Gavin Newsom does things that the average Californian does not support, but he does it because it's his agenda, and in his mind, he's the boss. But he's not the boss. And that's what I'm fed up with. These people work for us. They work for us. And it's high time that we remind them of that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about the election. Because this election really showed that we're sick of these far left agendas. We're sick of the media telling us what to do. We're sick of celebrities telling us what to do. Lately you hear about these just cuckoo stories. Like the one that I saw was Ava Longoria is leaving the U.S. because Trump got elected. And in the article, she mentions leaving California because of the crime and the homelessness. Well, the crime and the homelessness has nothing to do with Trump. That has everything to do with the Democrats in California, Gavin Newsom, Rob Bonta, George Gascon, all them far-left nutcases. And as far as leaving the United States, she has spent most of her time living either in Mexico or Spain. But the media is continuing to throw up these stories that make it out like, oh, Trump is Armageddon. And it's not true. And we're fed up with it. And I think America showed that. But you know what? The Democrats and the sycophant liberal media out there, they haven't seen it. And the only way they're going to see it is by us turning it off the TV. CNN is in the middle of massive layoffs right now because their ratings are down. The big winner on election night was Fox News. And not because all of America is a bunch of misogynistic Nazis. It's because we're sick of people just flat out lying. There's a difference between lying and propaganda and a bias. Obviously, Fox News has a bias. I know this. All news agencies seem to have a bias nowadays. But that's not lying and propaganda, okay? And one other thing that we're really fed up with, and this ties in the whole, DOGE and what happened in this election. Kamala Harris' campaign paid Oprah Winfrey's company $1 million to help with her Call Her Daddy interview. She spent all that money, and at the end of it, didn't even win a single swing state. She spent over $1 billion and lost votes. Meanwhile, breaking news, Trump paid Hulk Hogan for his appearance at the RNC with 3 scratch-offs and a meatball sub. But in all honesty, they asked Danica Patrick how much she was paid. And she came out pocket. She said, I lost money. I paid for my airfare. I paid for my wardrobe. Cardi B's turning around trying to say that was the same thing for her too, but I don't think so. They're trying to say that none of the celebrities were paid directly, which isn't true. One of my favorite memes made a return. Jim with the whiteboard. The woman who raised $1 billion in funding but ended up at least $20 million in debt was just promising she had the ability to fix the economy. The Democrats don't care about the economy. They don't. They care about all of their idealistic bullshit because that's what appeals to young white women. And again, one of the reasons why I hammer white women is because they're the ones who overwhelmingly supported Kamala, right? They're the ones who are swayed by things like white guilt and how to erase white guilt. So that's who they worry about. A lot of 20-year-old girls at these prestigious universities spending daddy's money, they don't really even comprehend the economy at this point. So why focus on it? Hopefully Trump can do something. Hopefully we can reduce all of this. At best, I think he's going to not make it worse, and it will heal itself if he doesn't get too far in the way. But we'll see. But this one really summed it up. Republican political strategist Brad Todd said, money can't buy you love or a good candidate. And that's what the problem with Kamala Harris was. She was not a good candidate, and people did not love her. They hated her. All right? There's a lot of love for Trump out there, and I know that makes people's brains just fucking melt, and they fly into a rage, and they start yelling and screaming and dyeing their hair purple. I don't know why I threw that in at the end there, but yeah, that's what you get when you're just dealing with a guy who's just coming off the top of his head. But they wanted their first. They wanted the first female. They wanted the first black female, first Asian female, blah, 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 blah. She was not a good candidate. But the Democrats, with their media propaganda machine, assumed that anybody who wasn't Trump would be swept into victory. But what we saw with our own eyes was not only did Trump win, but most of the radical DAs out there got swept out of office. Most of the radical government officials got swept out of office. It went red for a very good reason. Because people are fed up. People tried to play nice. Yeah, tried to play nice. But that wasn't the way the game was going to be played this year. It was going to be ugly. It was going to just be calling Trump and his supporters Hitler, misogynists, homophobes, all that. Which at the end of the day isn't true. And people knew it and people responded. Donald Trump is now offering to pay off Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. What I thought about that was that, what he says here, I would strongly recommend we as a party, and for the sake of the desperately needed unity, do pay it off. We have a lot of money left over in we have a lot of money left over in that our biggest asset in the campaign was earned media, and that doesn't cost very much. Yeah, earned media. Him going out on the garbage truck, him working at McDonald's, him going on Joe Rogan. She didn't do any of that. Because at the end of the day, the Democrats really show their true colors, that they don't care about the American people. They care about themselves. They care about their agenda. I don't know what Trump's going to do, but I have a sneaky suspicion that he loves America and that he actually cares about Americans. We can argue some of his bad points and his good points and all of that, but I think at his core, he's going to do what's good for America. Hey, maybe in 4 years you could call me naive. I don't know. But we'll see. Sunny Hostin changes her tune on Kamala Harris after question on The View. Yeah, I mean, Kamala Harris was asked if she would change anything that Joe Biden had done, and she said no. So when she went on The View, Sunny Hostin thought, well, I'm going to ask her that question again so maybe she could backtrack, because obviously saying that you agree with everything Biden did is, it's political suicide, really. And Kamala said the same thing again. Because Kamala's not a person. She's a fucking puppet. She goes up there and she repeats the certain mantras that appeal to the young white women out there. And then she just assumes all the rest of the people that are supposed to vote for her are going to vote for her. I mean, imagine that. That's what that party is. That party assumes that because you're black or you're Hispanic, you're going to vote Democrat. Not because of what you did, but because of the fear tactics that you use. Mass deportations. We let in 10 to 11 million people. We had no vetting process. We have seen a rise in a Venezuelan prison gang here in the United States. So yeah, we might need mass deportations. All right? But the truth of the matter is people like Sunny Hostin, even the propaganda news agencies out there know that something needs to change, and it needs to change fast because we are headed in the wrong direction. Point blank. Mic drop. So this comes from Columbia University, Crossing Out Veterans, Martyrs Day. And, they're fighting against the American war machine, So they are going to honor the patriotism, love of country, and sacrifice of the martyrs in Palestine. Just so they understand, suicide bombers are martyrs, civilians are civilians. So you're flat out supporting terrorists. The Martyrs Day event at Columbia was done by the unsanctioned student group, Columbia University Apartheid Divest. Wow, that's a hell of a catchy name. As they said, Veterans Day is an American holiday to honor the patriotism, love of country, and sacrifice of veterans. We reject this holiday and refuse to celebrate it. Okay, so great. So a bunch of rich white girls at Columbia University are rejecting patriotism. They're rejecting love of the country, and they don't give a fuck about the people who died. Oh, that's awesome. Cool. All right, I'm glad you're our future leaders. But the student vets turned out to do an anti-veterans Martyr Day, to face down the Martyrs Day protest. So, it says here, I got these out of order. I get these things out of order a lot. I think you've probably known that about me. A violent Columbia University student demonstration seeking to reclaim Veterans Day in the name of Palestinians killed in Gaza turned out to be a far cry from the protests that raged on campus last year, as student vets showed up to face down the agitators and demonstrate their pride. About 30 student vets joined out on the lawn tossed football around, played music, and kept the festive atmosphere going, while across the quad, a small contingent of detractors sat on the lawn in front of the library. One of the guys who organized it, Nahins, said he and his fellow vets were often targets of anti-Israel encampments with vile labels like baby killers, murderers, and infidels being regularly hurled across, what? Infidels. Yeah. Biggest problem we have in the world right now, maybe not the biggest, one of the biggest problems we have across the world right now is we're trying to integrate this Muslim society into Western society, and it's never going to work. They're diametrically opposed. A lot of the parents were brainwashed. They brainwashed their kids into believing this shit. They believe that even though they often employ terroristic tactics, they're the religion of peace. Well, we're seeing that they're not. You know, we even saw, it's so wild. I mean, I don't know what it must have been like to be a Muslim in Dearborn, Michigan. You couldn't vote for Kamala because she supported the war, you know, the war against Palestine. But then you had to vote for Trump. He's not exactly a fan of yours either. But, you know, it's a decision they made. They'll have their own party soon enough. Trust me, they will. And that's going to be scary times. And we're going to get into a little more about how they run countries. But the vets didn't break a single rule. They just responded by waving American flags. Like the organizers said, we weren't provoking anyone. We weren't insulting. We had faculty members give us the middle finger. We had students with scarves on their faces trying to intimidate us, but we kept our composure. Well, that's how you're supposed to protest, okay? Your signs, your numbers, that's all you need. You don't need to harass people. A lot of these universities are now facing lawsuits because they didn't protect Jewish students. That's fucking gross to me. You know? That is really gross to me. That reminds me, if you've never seen the movie Jojo Rabbit, I highly recommend it. I just saw it. My future son-in-law loves that movie. It is a great movie about World War II, the end of World War II, what it was like to be in Germany. It's a little bit bonkers. You can get a little tear here and there, but it's funny and it's poignant. But, you know, as we talk about, you know, these students that go out and barricade walkways and classroom doors and stuff and don't allow Jews in, you know, because they're showing solidarity with Palestine, but not the terrorists, right? So you act like terrorists, but you say you don't support the whatever. Let's move on. Earlier I had mentioned in that little article that faculty members had flipped off the student vets. You know, it's obvious at a lot of prestigious universities that you have far left wackadoodles as college professors. I think that needs to be looked at. I think if they were co-signing some of this hate, they need to go. But, you know, people say, oh, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. But here it is again. Yale psychiatrist urges MSNBC viewers to shun Trump voting family members over the holidays. So I guess Joe Biden's promise of unity was just blowing smoke up my ass. Because they don't want unity, all right? These people seem to think that if we were to follow Mao or Stalin or Lenin or Pol Pot or any of these other wackadoodle socialist dictators, we'd have a better country than we're going to have under Trump. To the point where he's urging people to shun. And we've seen that. I mean, I'm sorry, but we have seen this already. There was that famous trans activist whose wife murdered her father over Trump. We're hearing stories of families being split apart over Trump. That's not the way politics is supposed to be. The media has turned this into like a blood sport because they know how to make money off of it. Yeah, here's the person who said it. Yale University child psychiatric fellow, Dr. Amanda Calhoun, dug into the issue of post-election crisis in the LGBT community. There's a societal push that if someone is in your family, they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. Of course, she was on Joy Reid's show. That's what they're doing. They're continuing. They're not looking at this last election and saying, wow, maybe our message isn't being received well. Maybe 75% of the country isn't cool with our far left policies. Maybe we should change our tack. Or maybe, for the good of Americans and mankind as a whole, maybe we should push unity. Maybe we should just push pause a little bit on all this rhetoric. But now they went with the rhetoric. But as people at Columbia are supporting these martyrs in Palestine, brutal Hamas torture tactics caught on CCTV footage. They were doing unspeakable things, hanging people from the ceilings with chains, putting their heads in sacks, beating their feet. But, the tapes appear to match one man's description of the repeated torture endured in Gaza around that time frame when Hamas agents discovered that he was gay. They tied his feet up. They beat him with a stick. And after that, every few years, they would arrest him and torture him the same way. They wouldn't let me sleep or go to the bathroom. There was no food. They made me swear on the Quran that I wouldn't be gay again. So while you're out there thinking that you're part of some noble revolution, keep in mind that the people that you are supporting either directly or indirectly do not tolerate gays. They don't tolerate gays to the point of torture. The government torturing them. Hey, Iran will put you in jail for being gay. That's who you're supporting. You're being led by radicalized Muslims. But here's some other, this is another reason. Another reason why the election went the way the election went was people are insanely tired of this. We do not need or support police brutality. Okay, I don't. All right, I've been a victim of it myself. Believe it or not, look, I'm white. It happens. Businesses near George Floyd Square sue Minneapolis for $30 million in damages. Business owners had a struggling corner where, of course, this coming from CBS, police officer murdered George Floyd. No, they didn't. He wasn't murdered. All right? He fought with police officers while high on drugs and died. It's tragic. But basically these businesses in that area argue that the city's failure to address the deterioration and crime in the neighborhood has ruined their businesses and constitutes an unlawful taking of their property without just compensation. And I think they have a point. The area now known as George Floyd Square, I mean, are you freaking kidding me? I don't have the picture here. They put up a statue. George Floyd was not a civil rights leader. All right? He wasn't. He was a criminal. And the truth of the matter is that he got arrested for passing a counterfeit 20. He was handcuffed, put in a car, said he couldn't breathe, so the police officers took him out of the car. He started fighting with the police officers. They put him down. A crowd formed around them. The situation was spiraling out of control. And sadly, George died. But he was not a fucking hero. The city's current vision is to redesign and rebuild the intersection to maintain it as a gathering space in Floyd's honor. In Floyd's honor? What did he do? This is why the country looks so red right now. Because if you think that George Floyd was a hero, then you're a fucking fool. This is now a conspiracy theory. Mattel's Wicked movie dolls mistakenly list porn site on packaging. You can see it right there, Wicked Films or wicked.com. But, they're trying to make this meme here, as the meme here implies. One does not simply put a porn link on a child's toy. No, it's oversight. I don't think that Mattel is part of some conspiracy to get kids hooked on porn. I think that's pretty much easy. I mean, you can just type in porn into your phone and you're going to be introduced to porn. But what is funny is the amount of advertising that is now being shown for hard alcohol and gambling. Two things that will ruin your life faster than any other two things, other than maybe meth. Look, if you're in second and third place because meth is number one, ooh, you got a problem. But yeah, seriously, it worries me. Hard alcohol can kill you. Pretty much, I can one-time use, really. I mean, if you do enough alcohol, drink enough alcohol, you will die of alcohol poisoning. And ever since they started these new fancy fruity drinks out there, the death rate for women of alcohol poisoning has raised 30%. And we should be focused on that. And gambling, as somebody who's spent a lot of time around it, myself, I never got addicted because I don't really I don't get a thrill out of it, okay? I like making educated conclusions that make me money, and I hate losing, and I get no thrill in between. But, this happened. This is a true story. The Mattel Wicked movie dolls did have Wicked.com on the back. It's supposed to be WickedMovie.com. Quite frankly, when you outsource all of your manufacturing overseas to China, a country that doesn't like us and fucking hates us and wants to eradicate us, it's not surprising when stuff like that happens. I wouldn't be surprised if that was not Chinese government officials. They're messing with us. That's what these countries do. They mess with us. I'm not gonna get into all the cabinet picks of Trump's right now. I think it's interesting. Things like Elon Musk and Vivek, doing the DOGE. Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. I don't know how that's gonna work. But like I said, I think he is trying to burn the swamp down and expose what goes on behind these closed doors. Babylon B had a great one. Biden administration declares Trump cabinet picks unqualified. Yeah, look at that collection of top talent right there. Top talent. Levine, who claims, I went through the military ranks as a trans female, actually transitioned after she had reached the top. Pierre, I'm going to miss her and her kooky ways. Mop top over there. Unqualified. Just lied. Just condescended. Pete Buttigieg, this is a guy who got caught unloading a bike from an SUV and then riding the bike across the parking lot and going, I ride a bike to work. And then Britain down there, Britain was in charge of nuclear energy and then was convicted of stealing bags from an airport. Yeah. So I don't know how unqualified Trump's picks are, but we've had some real wackadoodles for the last 4 years. Insult to injury. African kids receive overstock Harris Walls hats to wear with their Yankees World Championship shirts. This is something I always find funny. I don't know. I always tell my daughter, I don't know what you know. So if you know this, I'm not pretending that you're dumb. Okay. But, when somebody like the Dodgers win the World Series, almost within the first minute of them winning the World Series, they're wearing LA Dodgers World Champion shirts. Well, obviously the way that those shirts are ready at a moment's notice is that they print up those shirts for both teams. Well, when one team wins, they get the shirts, and then you're left with all these useless shirts. They ship them over to Africa where they need clothing, where they need donations such as that. I've always just found that fascinating. There was a joke. I don't remember who it was. It's lost to the ether of time, but they said it must be weird going over to Africa because in Africa they think that the wrong people are champions. I wonder if they're in on the joke. But either way, man, I'm just glad Harris Waltz is not going to be a thing. I think the media and the Democrats did not realize that America had seen through the fact that they were far leftist. People such as myself were saying that they're not Democrats, they're leftists. And, hopefully that changes that party because, we need the input. We need the input from both sides. I don't know if I mentioned this on my last show. I just heard something outside. It sounded like a rat. Welcome to my world. Behind the scenes here, yo. The Democrats that I voted for won. I'm very happy with that. I don't vote based on a D or an R. One of the stories that I heard recently was how they were saying that RFK, who dropped out of the race, actually did better than the other third parties combined, which I would remind that writer, whoever the hell it was, because I forgot to snippet for the show. RFK was a third party too. Now I know there wasn't a really big showing for third party people, but maybe, like every 4 years, I hope that maybe there is a push and we get an actual third party. Because look, the libertarians are not really a third party. They're an offshoot. The Green Party is an offshoot. The Teacup Party is an offshoot of one of the other parties. A true third party could sweep the ballot. Because we understand that we don't want to placate the extremes. We want to do the best job for the most people. Unlike Gavin Newsom. Newsom assures Californians they will be safe from all the Trump administration's prosperity, safety, and lower prices. True that. He was just in Washington, D.C., trying to secure waivers for his electric vehicle push because they have to have waivers. It's unconstitutional to pass laws that will affect other states. When we want to switch to electric vehicles, we will. Right now, people are not switching to electric vehicles because the infrastructure is not there. But California Air Resource Board is about to make gasoline 40 to 60 cents more expensive per gallon. If something is 60 cents more expensive per gallon, that's $6. That's in the neighborhood of $10 on every fill up. More expensive. I'm glad we lowered our emissions so we don't have smog days like I did when I was a kid, having to miss school because the skies were gray. But this fucker's taking it too far. This fucker thinks that he is the boss, and he is not the boss. And hopefully California wakes up to this and we start balancing out our government. Because I'm telling you right now, anybody watching in any other place other than California, I'm telling you, a lot of the shit that you hear about California is true. And when I was young, you never heard that. California was a place where everybody was jealous that I lived. All right? Oh my God, you live here? Because I used to go camping a lot. So we'd meet people from around the country. You live here? Oh my God, you live here? You're so lucky. Oh, you're so lucky. Well, that luck has turned into sadness for me. I'm in my mid-50s. I'm going to have to retire soon. Maybe not soon, but probably within 10 years. If it continues like this, I'm going to have to leave my state. As much as I bleed for America, I also bleed for California. And people like Gavin Newsom, they got to go. And if you think that Gavin Newsom is going to be a president, he's not. And if you think Kamala Harris is going to be the next governor of California, they're not. People's eyes are open. This is a throwback Bronco. Hey guys, relax. What if he actually does make America great again? That's what we're afraid of. They want to control us. The people on the left obviously want to control us. That's why they spin crazy propaganda. When they look out across a college campus and see all them young white women and all of the sycophants that got to all the simps that joined them and all the children of Muslims who are instigating some of this anti-Jewish hate that's out there. They look out there and they go, look at this, look how fucking crazy these people are. They'll vote for any crazy idea we have. Meanwhile, the Republicans are saying, hey, can we get a return to sanity? People in power should not pursue agendas. They should pursue the best path forward for the most people. That is a very simple formula. What does the most good for the most people? That's not to say that you have to throw hate and shade on the minorities. No. But what makes sense? Because if something that makes sense for white families also benefits Hispanic and Asian and black families, then it's good. If the decrease in the price of gasoline, like here in California, if you decrease the price of gasoline, guess what? That's not just for straight white men. That's for gay black people. That's for trans Hispanics. Everybody benefits from that. And that's what we should be getting back to. We shouldn't have these little pockets who reelect people like AOC because they like that she fights Trump, or reelect Adam Schiff, who has just prospered himself. Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi. Politicians who are only benefiting themselves need to go. That's why I believe in purple state so much. Because a true third party would just cut them off at the knees. It would give it would give the people on both sides a party to flock to when they get upset with their party. You can't flock if you're a pissed off Republican, you can't flock to the Green Party. If you're a pissed off Democrat, you can't come over here to the Teacup Party or the We the People Party or whatever, man. At the end of the day, what we saw in this election was that people would like to be closer to the middle, closer to the purple. And that's how you tie it all together. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party, and so are you. Love one another. Really. Please do. Don't be out there hating on people just because they're different. Because that fucking sucks, man. Your boy right here, kid, I'm different. And I love you. I love you so much, and I know that together, as Americans, we can overcome anything that comes our way. And together, we can dance it out.